what I'm going to do is, I think the bridge is up now for those on the internet. I think when you put the agenda, I'll go through that. And in the beginning, we're going to do a roll call in the beginning. We have Dr. John here.
Here.
Art Meyer.
Here.
Chuck Wright.
Here.
And Mark Galiptis.
Here.
Okay. So what we're going to start with is, go ahead to the next slide. This is the agenda for the meeting. At the beginning, we're going to talk a little bit about, we had a couple of resignations. Matt Fieschi and Rick Antall resigned, and we're in the process of transitioning from a startup board to a fully operational and execution board. I'm going to introduce some new board members that we went through last month with a unanimous consent agreement through the month. We didn't do it in the meeting, but we added, and we have on the phone also with us is Vice Chairman, Mr. Doug Gall. He's the Director of Manufacturing for Mylan Pharmaceuticals, and he comes from Weirton Steel's best manufacturing processes back in the day. He's on the phone with us. He's in Dublin tonight. He's not able to be with us here. We have Chuck Wright, who is an appointment from the City of Weirton City Council. We have a couple of pending appointments from Fallensby and Chester. I've yet to talk to the groups in there to see who they'd like to put on. And we also have Mark Galiptis, is the president of the International Steelworkers Union, Local 27. And then we have another appointment that's open. And we're in the process of, Dr. Allen is going to move over from a board of directors of the governance board to a board of directors emeriti. That's how you say emeritus. He'll be a great advisor with his Brook Hancock Jefferson Metropolitan Planning Organization group and experience in the past. We also have on the phone a couple of satellite offices, a little bit out of order, but Nigel Devenish from London, who's representing in Weirton Area Port Authority in London and supporting our compliance. Nigel, can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear.
If you have a couple words you'd like to say to the group?
I'd just like to introduce myself, Nigel Devenish, Select Office UK, and looking to take Commons project forward using a product called Nimbus, which we're going to have introduction of tonight. We have Sam Lorio. He's from Cincinnati, and he's the account manager going forward. Much, Vijay.
Thank you, Nigel. What he was saying is Sam Lorini?
Sam Lorio.
Lorio, yeah, he's with Nimbus, and it's our compliance software partner. You'll see some of the information on how we manage compliance to all the regulations and standard operating procedures and stuff like that. We have Miguel Lobos in San Luis Potosi, which is the second largest inland port in the world. Miguel, maybe he's having trouble connecting. Okay, and then we have Mr. Anthony Powers from Dubai, United Arab Emirates, also promoting WAPA. Anthony, can you hear me?
Morning.
Morning. Go ahead. You have a few you'd like to say to the group?
I'd like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to work with you guys, and I'm looking forward to build up a solid relationship and present you guys over here and expand your coverage.
Excellent. I have
excited about the project, and I'm looking forward to working with you guys.
Thank you very much, Anthony. We're looking forward to your participation.
Good.
I'll talk a little bit about the earmark activities and what many of you have heard and learned about the earmark ban in Congress. A lot of the focus of our and our construct of the business model and the alignment that we've made is related to the earmarks and non-earmark ban. Earmarks are, many of you may know this, but they're congressionally directed spending. It's a thing where Congress, House of Representatives or Senator specifically focuses a targeted spending to an area, whether it be in an appropriations bill or another bill. You've heard of pork and earmarks and all these other things. Well, a good example, in 1999, one of the projects we're working on re-amending, the Water Resources Development Act. In that act, there was targeted funds for Weirton. It was X million dollars for Weirton for this project, $X million for Parkersburg for something else. Not related projects, just local focused spending. And with Congress Congress is focused today on earmarks, it's important to focus on a structure that we're able to continue working on funding. So we built the nonprofit public benefit corporation model, which aligns with the IRS 6320 rule. That allows us to focus on national projects, programs of record, joint program development office projects. An example of that would be the FAA Next Gen upgrade, a national activity. So the FAA will manage a project of upgrading all their radar systems and their tower control systems. It will be a part of that project, so it's not specifically for Weirton or for West Virginia or for a specific congressional district, but it's a national project. It allows us to continue and participate without having to worry about the earmarks where we're going for a grant for this or for a focused targeting funding for that. So a little bit about now that, and you'll see a little bit more in the presentation related to the model we have, the 6320, and the levels of governance and structure of the organization. What I'll do next is also introduce some people in the audience. We have Brad Blair Chase, who's JP Morgan Chase out of Wheeling. He's on our finance committee. Clay Riley with Thrasher Engineering, who's part of the project in the engineering and design side. A couple of our speakers also here. Jim McCarville is the executive director of the Pittsburgh Port Commission. He'll be giving us a short presentation on their activities and how we can work together. We have Pat Ford, who's the executive director of the Business Development Corporation of Northern Panhandle. Pat's been very instrumental in working on economic development projects and promoting the area, coordinating with the different economic development councils in the region, in the cities and communities. We also have Dave Living with the West Virginia Development Office, who's going to be participating and giving a summary of what they're working on and how they can participate in this. I've also got Vargo with Da Vinci Solutions. Da Vinci is a key partner on the private side, and he's one of the core aspects of the team here. We've got Todd Gracie, president of Gracie Wireless, and the infrastructure side of telecommunications for the project. We got Master Sergeant Rick Alderton, who's the COO of Weirton Area Port Authority, Inc., and our security working group lead. We have Bill Moon, the general manager for Frontier Communications, another key communications company in West Virginia, and another key partner for the project.
Jim McCarville.
Jim started with Jim, I think. Thanks a lot, John. Which guy? Oh, Frank Boscarillo. Yeah, Frank. I forgot Frank.
Holy, put in the slides, man.
Yeah, I looked right over your head. Tim also is the city net with the development, business development. I have some new members that joined the port this month. Again, with Elliptus's appointment, also the USW, United Steelworkers Local 2911, the union, joined our membership. Oh, I did forget one person, Mark Satesla, chairman of the Redevelopment Authority for Weirton. So that's a key. He'll be that'll be the group that we work for sponsorship on the redevelopment or the water resources development. Another new member, Frontier Communications. We also got North American Biofuels joined this month. Another great steel company, Nippon Steel Trading Company. Scott Davidson, his group joined. Then we have H.E. Newman out of Wheeling. It's a heating and air contractor. And then Nimbus Partners, as Nigel mentioned. Nimbus is the compliance software tool and a very core aspect of continuing and controlling the compliance, especially working in federal programs. It's a very important aspect. A key milestone met this month is we launched a new global website. We've been working off of GoDaddy. Team did a great job getting all the information on GoDaddy. But CityNet put together a fantastic website. It's still instruction, so a lot of the links, there'll be information, but maybe not all the maps are up there yet, or port cams. But if you go to www.wapainc.org, you'll be able to see the new website. And for those of you in the audience that may not know, this is being live cast on the web, so people can watch from their PCs around the world, watch the presentation, and listen to the presentation at the same time. And then some guest speakers. I introduced them already, but I'll go through real quick again. Executive Director Jim McCarville, Pittsburgh Port Commission, Economic Development Corporation, Business Development Corporation, Northern Panhandle, Pat Ford, Western Development Office, Dave Living, and Frontier Communications, Bill Moon. And a couple of key aspects that we're going to work on the next month. There's 3 resolutions that the board's going to discuss putting forward. One is sponsoring a sponsorship for the Redevelopment Authority's work on the Riverport Technology Park. The Redevelopment Authority has been working for a couple of years on the Northern District and redevelopment opportunities there, and with environmental design and planning consultant firm in Pittsburgh. And they have a plan today, and they have some background work, so we're going to look at that and take that forward, look at sponsoring, letter of sponsorship from the Port Authority to the Redevelopment Authority to move that to the next level and make sure we include everybody that's part of the process. Another resolution is the Port Authority, Weirton Area Port Authority, has been working on a logistics village concept. We're working with supply chain and transportation focus, because that's the focus of the area, and ports with road, rail, highway, and airway, or waterways and airways. And resolution number 4 would be to align that plan to the Brook Hancock Development Council programs, where they have a list of projects that have some identified as high priority, but they maybe benefit from our work with alignment to our business, from our model to their activities to help bring that forward and see if we can bring that to fruition. And then we have next gen M70 Water Resources Development Amendment. That M70 is the Ohio River. It's a Marine 70 named based on Highway 70. A lot of the waterways are given highway names, but we're with U.S. Congressman David McKinley's office. David's going to sponsor the amendment of that 1999 Water Resources Development Act. That act earmarked money for Weirton. And so we're going to move that into a joint program office activity with the sponsorship of David will sponsor it with support of, or co-sponsor with Congresswoman Capito, District 2, David's District 1, and with support of Senator Rockefeller. Congressman McKinley will put a letter together to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers asking them to move forward with the amendment language, which then starts the process of amending that legislation and bringing the it's called features, the new technology since 1999, into the legislation to help move these federal systems like the Coast Guard's Rescue 21 system on the waterway, or the WA system, or the Intelligent Transportation System, with respect to the Department of Transportation, Federal Department of Transportation, Intelligent Transportation Technology. So those are the 3 resolutions we're going to be working on the next month to bring to council. Go to the next slide. Every month we go over a critical or key performance indicators, our metrics on how we're doing month to month. And I'm going to go down through here kind of quickly. Many of you who've been here before may have seen it, but we're meeting attendance activity where we list the meeting attendance. That's why the sign-on sheet, and we can also communicate to you guys. Community outreach meetings with the different organizations, BHJ, the BDC, West Economic Development, Congressman McKinley's office. We've had quite a bit this month. And then we have website e-commerce visitors to our site. 177 are watching the. That's the next one. 177 visitors. We have some networking. We have a Facebook page for the Weirton Area Port Authority, and we're having good growth and focus there. Also, tomorrow or the next day, usually tomorrow, the day after, we'll post this presentation and the sound on the web. So what you see there is the port meeting video access. We're getting good focus and view of that. People are watching that video, learning more about what we're doing. And then informational fact sheets we present. Our relationships, we have 13 memorandum of agreements in place since June, and we're holding steady on that, and you'll see a little bit more about who those partners are later. We have applications to become members of the port. Today we have Class A charter members are open, charter membership is open, and we have 5 members of the port. We have 25 are approved, and we have a process that, as this board transition, we'll go through it again with the next meeting and reviewing and approving these members. And then we have committees and working groups that are working with us on this project. We have today we have 3. We have finance working group that's chaired by Brad Blair from Chase, J.P. Morgan Chase out of Wheeling. That has Tom Timmons from West Banco, Dan Wilson with Bodkins Wilson and Kostecki. Dr. Brown participates in that from a financing side from the work he's been doing with the public side. We have a technology working group that's been working very well with Frank Boscarillo, the chair with CityNet. That includes Thresher Engineering, Clay Riley, John Vargo with Da Vinci, Todd Gracie, and with Gracie Wireless, MJ Johnson with DaVinci Solutions. Somebody on that group?
Well, you've got, Big L and Nigel.
Nigel, oh yeah, Nigel and Anthony are also on the
Korea.
And for Pete Harpin with Free Instruments. Free is another key partner. We have one of their smart lock technology gauges here for locking through the locks and dams when they can't see the front end of the barge. We have a steering committee that we've established with Bill Moose, the first on the committee, and he's the chairman of the Frontier. So we'll be building that steering committee, and we have the security working group coming aboard, and then compliance and Six Sigma, which we'll talk about a little bit later. We have federally credentialed personnel, TWIC, Transportation Worker Identification Credentials. The biometric credentials, it's a background check from federal. We have 4 of those today, and we'll be expanding. The board members will need to become credentialed, and that'll grow. And then we have certifications with respect to Homeland Security, Community Emergency Response certifications, and National Emergency Management certifications. We're up to 12. Our revenue is in memberships today, $1,350 worth of memberships today. Again, it's the Class A charter member at $50. Then we have service plans, which we haven't released yet, but we're going to be releasing service plans and opportunities for local businesses with respect to SharePoint, WebEx, where you can have video conference and using cloud computing technology, shared services, so you don't have to buy the software and load it on. You'll just have it like a subscription to use for the private businesses in the area. Go to the next slide. This is a slide of governance structure. Virginia Department of Transportation is where the Public Port Authority resides in the state of West Virginia. So the West Virginia code that defines the structure of the ports is 17-16B-1. Our organized as a public entity, private partnership, P3 governance, which is PPP, public-private partnerships. We obtained or received powers and duties from the West Virginia Public Port Authority in 2001. We then, this past year, we worked in qualifying into the Federal Assistance Program in June for joint program offices and joint program development, programs of record to work on national programs. We are in the process of completing diligence for the IRS 6320 rule, which is it's a nonprofit, it's a public benefit corporation establishment structure. It's for recognized public benefit. So aligned to that, that'll be another qualification and credential in support of our objectives of the national programs. And then we're working on the Water Resources Development Act of 1999. Section 557 is focused on Weirton and that amendment process that I described previously. We also have a charter membership, not-for-profit governance structure where we have a variety of different groups. So suppliers that will be partners of the membership, where they'll provide basic products and services to the port. Preferred suppliers will be key strategic partners, whether it be in development and design and construction of networks or other key strategic activities. Then there are other basic strategic partners that aren't suppliers. Could be West Virginia Development Office, could be a variety of different groups that will partner in different projects as we present them to the organizations. We have a port line of credit structure in place, so we have the structure and we're about ready to move forward with that. And then we also have financing guidance for Port 6320 debt financing, and the finance working groups are working on those. The West Virginia Communications LLC will be a for-profit benefit corporation. It's the public-private partnership. It'll bring the public WAPA, Weirton Area Port Authority, Inc., sponsored by Weirton Area Port Authority, together with the private investors and investment community, and creates the for-profit entity that then generates revenue and revenue sharing that allows this whole structure to be self-sustainable from the public side. And it also allows the benefit of the private investment, the technology, the experience and knowledge that they have that we may not have in the public side. So it's a great combination, and it's a major part of the economic stimulus that you hear talking about in the federal government all the time, bringing these two funding sources together, because neither on their own separately may want to or would be able to complete some of these projects and be a successful, optimized, whether it be profitable or efficient project alone. But together, a lot of this can be done with sharing and collaboration. A diagram of the governance structure is just talking about the West Virginia Port Communications LLC operating agreement. We're in the process of discussing, working through that to bring these two together. Weirton Area Port Authority was created under resolution of the Inc. was created under resolution of the Weirton Area Port Authority, and is again aligned with the IRS 6320 and Public Benefit Corporation. Just above it again is the Public Port Authority, West Virginia Public Port Authority, and the West Virginia Department of Transportation. That's the governance flow of this entity and this model. And we cover Brooke and Hancock counties right now. This is where our authorities are from the state. Next slide. Give you a little bit of insight into how some of the governance board works with steering committees. This is a good diagram of when a project comes to the Port Authority. The project will go through a diligence activity where it'll come in and it'll be through the process that we have in place, that we have to review a project. But it'll go into the steering committee, and the steering committee will work with the project manager, project team, and subject matter experts to evaluate this project. Is it public benefit? Does it qualify for what our goals are and objectives are? Is it something that we think it can be successful? I mean, there's going to be a lot of requests, a lot of things out there that may or may not be able to be done. That group then, through its review process, bring to the governance board up here, hey, this is a project that could be potentially beneficial not only for the port, but for the region, or however it's for the packages put together, and this governance board can decide to move forward with resolution, to move forward with that project. That resolution then publishes that project as a sound project approved by the board. It'll then be moved on to the Weirton Area Port Authority, Inc. in the business side, and then into whatever structure is required. It could be completely separate then from the communications project. It could be real estate. It could be another type of development. Okay, next slide. Here, a good example is a diagram of our working groups. Weirton Area Port Authority Governance Board. This board is on the top. The Corporation 6320 Public Benefit Corporation then has the variety of working groups underneath them. And the technical working group, I explained who the participants are. Finance working group, those are both in play today, meetings. Security working group is just being established, and Chief Alderton, Chief Sergeant, will be managing that. Compliance, we spoke with Nigel in London. We have a compliance tool in place. And Sigma, Doug Velagal, again, will be leading up that aspect of it with his background and experience on that and building a group for that. This is a list of our memorandum of agreement partners. City of Weirton, those in green are those that are focused with the Water Resources Development Act amendment process, and the key focus here, so you can see the City of Weirton. So the City of Weirton, the city administrator is actually receiving our memberships to the port and logging them into Google Docs, which is a cloud technology. That'll be moved into our cloud. They're doing some work for the port, in support of the port. This is a facility they allowed us to use. The goal is to share revenue with these partners. So as we grow and the revenue we bring in, we then share revenue back to the cities and the MOA partners. We can also help bring funding through these project offices into these MOA partners for specific, and other projects may have different MOA partners, but this is where we started. Redevelopment Authority, we talked a little bit about their draft plan in the Northern District partner. And they have some interstate. The other two MOAs are Brooke, Hancock, Jefferson Metropolitan Planning Commission, which gives us an interstate view, brings Jefferson County, Ohio into play with us, and Dr. Brown again is Executive Director. And then we have the Weirton Ambulance Rescue Squad. And see, the technology that we bring there, it leads into 911 and emergency services, Next Gen 911. So there are a variety of SafeCom, P25 technologies that are required in that aspect. Our intrastate, we have West Virginia Public Port Authority is an MOA partner. Eastern Virginia Regional Airport Authority. This is the airport authority in Martinsburg. It's the largest airport in the state of West Virginia by runway size. It houses the Air National Guard, West Virginia National Guard, and they're going to be a key partner with us in bringing the two panhandles together in this large supply chain, which will then connect to Baltimore and Columbus. And also we'll be able to work together in improving the freight movements in and out of that airport, again, generating potential revenue and benefit for Martinsburg and the Eastern Panhandle. Again, it ties into the logistics activities and exporting. As some may have seen the news, West Virginia's focus on exporting. The AFC, Appalachian Regional Council, has allocated $1.5 million for companies that export. Congressman McKinley and Congresswoman Capito are discussing the focus and the benefit of exporting. So that's one of the keys with the airport. Then Eastern Panhandle Inland Port Coalition, again, that's the inland port in the Eastern Panhandle. They're not right now part of this activity, but they'll be a key player in others. National, state, and local academia. Stevens Institute, research. They're the Center for Maritime Resiliency and Security for the Homeland Security, U.S. Homeland Security. They're a key partner. Ohio State University, Office of Sponsored Research, is also on our west side, a key partner. And then Eastwood Community College is here locally. They're already doing some testing or some demonstrations of small unmanned aircraft systems, and we're going to partner with them on some of the curricula and establishing training for that type of stuff. Private partnerships, Da Vinci Solutions, regulatory partner, and then they carry a lot of technology and capabilities and networking and open architecture and next-gen activities. Grady Wireless is on the infrastructure, on the wireless infrastructure side, and CityNet, LLC, with, again, the network aspects, and Frontier will become part of this also at some point. A diagram that shows the key connections. Northern Panhandle Region 11 Economic Development Council to down through Region 10 dealing to town, then out to the Eastern Panhandle. And you can see some key points of contact. It's not just a local project. It's a national and international focus. We're going to be working with Ohio State, with Inland Port, and then up to the Port of Cleveland on the west side, Port of Baltimore, Virginia Inland Port on the east side with Stevens Institute help, and San Luis Potosi, which Miguel Villalobos is on the phone, again, second largest inland port in the world from the south in Mexico. Go ahead, next slide. The diagram of the network design, and you'll see it's a robust redundant network. So because it houses a lot of Homeland Security, national information, it's got to be safe and secure and redundant. It runs through from Weirton down to Martinsburg. We're looking at a regional operations center hub here in Weirton to manage and control the operational aspects of the network, plus operations center for catastrophic events for public service. Also, a real key aspect of this is we're pulling in the I-79 high-tech corridor, where we have the Biometrics Center, we have NOAA, and NASA. Again, federal agencies that will participate in this with us and will benefit from this. It's an all-fiber network, so we're going to have not unlimited, but much more bandwidth than we have today to support all this new technology. Today's networks can't support all the new technologies and intelligent information transportation systems and the like. And then we take it out to the Eastern Panhandle. Now, down here is the map of the capital. Tell me that again.
Network access.
Access points for the United Capital. It's in Culpeper, Virginia, and in Martinsburg resides the Coast Guard Global Information Center, where they track all the ships of all ships types, not just Coast Guard ships, all ships around the world in that data center. So those are key aspects of the project, and it's one of the reasons the strategic position of our area and what we're doing is just phenomenal. Next slide. This is just a slide of our new website. There's 5 or 6 pictures that change automatically. It's up and live today I gave you, and so you can go test it. Again, it's in construction, so some of the areas like the port cam, there's not a port cam set up yet, but it's coming soon. Good, next slide. Here we're talking a little bit more about compliance, because this is a federal program. It's important that there's full compliance and control of all the aspects of everything that we do, from legislation that supports our construction to our SOP, standard operating procedures of running business. We'll reduce and manage operational risk. It'll be new technology, digitized, so that we can control better, and we move it from manual, where manual has introduces a lot of risk. There's sensitive, secure information, with Homeland Security classified information level. So certain levels of classified information that are going to be running across this system. So again, that's a key part of compliance. OSHA, ISO 18001, the environmental ISO 14000, ISO 9000, and DHS Safe Compliance. All these have to be controlled and managed within this governance structure, within these organizations. And that's where we bring in NIMBUS and their compliance tools, make it electronic, 21st century technology at fingertips, and it's easy to access, and we can actually control everything we're doing at a touch of a finger. Next slide. Compelling business drivers for compliance. Many times people treat compliance as management of risk as a cost. We've got to reduce our risk for cost. But we're also treating it as an opportunity. And reduce risk, we streamline the opportunity and the efficiency of what we do, and it improves the business processes and it makes it more efficient. It's a compliance tool and accessibility. Come on in, Kevin. You can. What's up? How long you got? 7, probably. Yeah. Okay. You got something?
I didn't care.
Oh, you need. Okay. Yeah. 30 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, I gotta have a wedding.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay. Then the compliance software is also, it's a single source of truth for legal documents through to standard operating procedures. So there's one place that we all can go. It's not a variety of different books or binders. It's going to be online for our business management within the business so that we have complete control and access to the total compliance. And it all improves the profitability and productability in a safe working environment. All the same aspects apply and more to public-sponsored, public-run organizations as they do with private entities, and it's key that we have the perfect utmost compliance, and Nimbus will bring that to us with Nigel's expertise and support. Next slide. At the end of my slide, we're going to continue to build global collaborative relationships, again, with some of the key partners we brought in today. And with that, I would like to introduce our Port Commission Executive Director, Mr. Jim McCarver. He's going to go over a little bit about what the Pittsburgh Port Commission is doing, and you'll see some alignment with this, and we have some more discussions to see how we could better collaborate together.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
A lot of presentations, and I sometimes start by saying I come from a non-traditional port. I think you guys are more non-traditional than anybody I've ever met in my life. I'm going to talk about a number of things that we do, some of which that you're going to be familiar with, and a list is going to sound kind of the same, and that's I guess how I'm going to introduce it, kind of the same. It isn't actually the same. I think we both see an opportunity out there somewhere, and there's an attempt to see how do we best take advantage of this, and how do we best make it work. And as everybody knows, it's easy to do things, it's really hard to do things alone. So let's see what happens in the near future. Let's go on to the next slide here. A bit about the Port of Pittsburgh Commission, and it's our mission. How much time do I have, by the way? Okay, 10, 15 minutes. Okay, our mission is to promote the commercial use and development of the inland waterway transportation system, and then integrate that into the recreational, environmental, economic, and intermodal life of southwestern Pennsylvania. Not owner-operate facilities. We do economic development. We've got talk a little bit about that. We do technology development and a lot of public education. I'm going to talk about that. Go on to the next one. Our board of members, I'm not going to go into great detail. I think you've probably seen our legislation. We were created by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We have members appointed by 4 members appointed by the legislative caucuses, and at large, the governor appoints 4, 3 by our MPO, 1 by the non-MPOs, and 3 are nominated by industry groups, river terminal operators, the Waterway Association. Okay, we've got a staff of 5 people, and that's our liaison. Go ahead. Says, how do we function and fit in? Actually, we get almost 90% of our funding through the Pennsylvania Department of Economic Development, Community Economic Development. We work with the industry to carry this out. We get some money from bonding. We put on a certain event and we charge some fees, but most of that money comes from the Commonwealth. The economic impact study, just to give you an idea, and I don't need to educate anybody here about how important the waterways are, how important that is for the tract industry, but Martin Associates found 45,000 direct jobs related to the industry, to the river industry in southwestern Pennsylvania. Some of the economic development things that we do, and I understand you've looked at some of these as well, so we've got a bonding structure to attract industries to come and locate there. We have a low-interest loan program. That is, the bond is not limited to the waterways. The loans are somehow you've got to be tied to the waterways. We're very interested in technology we're going to talk about, and of course we work kind of as a clearinghouse to attract new cargo to come. But we found since we've set up our webpage that kind of we're transparent in that process now. People are able to go on the webpage, find what they want to do, and handle it, and that works out very well. Some of the things that we work on is we really try to leverage federal funding. It was a lot easier to do in the past than it's going to be in the future, but you can see just in that first column there, lock and dams, and I'm going to talk a little bit about our lock and dam problems, but that's hundreds of millions of dollars that we're able to help attract to our region, and much of that happens without us, of course, but what we do is we get the community alerted to it. We help educate our public officials to why this is important and make sure that it happens. I'm going to talk a little bit about our Area Maritime Security Committee or Subcommittee. For the port, we've got, it shows there $8 million. With the latest round of funding, we're actually managing a portfolio of $10 million in port security grants that we turn around to sub-grants. And it's not we act as a fiduciary agent, but it's an Maritime Security Council. It meets the third Tuesday of each month, and would encourage you to attend that. And I see you've already got a lot of SSI compliance. You do have to sign an SSI agreement with the captain of the port. That's an avenue that there's additional funding opportunities to go through. There's probably going to be a declining amount of money for that every year as it goes on as well, but it still is important. We've got the money to reduce emissions from diesel towboat engines, and we work with the private towing industry to carry that out. And we're expecting to get through our MPO some additional money in the future for that same purpose under the CMAP program. So there's about $300 million that we've been able to help participate in leveraging, some of that directly through the port, most of it through the Corps engineers and their activities. In addition, we have, actually those both are pending in the last column. We have been able to get some port security grant money for projects that I will talk a little bit on. Go ahead. I'm going to talk about infrastructure. Go ahead. This is probably our number one concern. Our infrastructure is in miserable condition, and without it, nothing's going to work. This whole thing is going to fall apart, and we've got big problems. Public officials are going to understand this very, very well. The public just isn't in the same mood to spend money or to allow politicians to approve money for projects. It's getting harder and harder to make this case, but this is really important. Here's the age of our infrastructure. I'm just going to talk about the 17 sets of locks and dams in the Pittsburgh area. You can see the number over 75 years. Oh, that's just ridiculous to have that infrastructure that old, and it's not in good shape. In addition to it getting older every year, the maintenance budget gets cut every year too. So you can see where this is going to go. In fact, this shows what it is, the unscheduled lock closures. Now, it's one thing, you got maintenance, you're going to schedule your maintenance. You know, Thursday you don't have a car, you figure out what you're going to do. But if you're driving and your car breaks down on you, it's a completely different situation. People moving on the waterways, if they do not have a reliable set of infrastructure, are going to find it very, very difficult to do business with this concerns me, very, very much. Go ahead. It just shows the relative impact of a whole bunch of projects here from Braddock, Hannibal, Emsworth, Dashels, and Montgomery. The impacts are catastrophic. Go ahead. Just spend a little time here. Go this one here. Just show you the colors here. The Corps of Engineers did this. The red is the risk. The yellow is the pretty is very as a matter of fact. Yellow is not good by any means, and the green was passable. Go ahead, Dan. Go to the next one here. The colors don't all that well. You see a lot of red, maybe some orange, a lot of yellow, a little blue because it just barely got into that green. You don't see any green up here at all. These are all in bad shape. Just quickly through these, just to give you some pictures of how bad it is. It leaks oil. Okay, step here. Why do we care about all this? Because people make money in this region because we've got infrastructure like the water. We need to do something. We'll get back to something like this. This region will not be together. Okay, the Area of Maritime Security Subcommittee meet early at the Norfolk Southern Corporation offices in Green Tree, Pennsylvania. And I think we talked about over the last 4 years, we've been able to have sub-grants for a lot of electronic monitoring cameras, mesh networks, diving equipment, boats, mobile command centers, those are all opportunities. Our big project that I think you're going to be interested in hearing a little bit about is bringing wireless broadband to the waterway. I'm going to talk about it in terms of the concept, the project, the roadmap, virtual shared. Back up just a second. It's what we're talking about is virtual shared private networks. Go ahead. And Pittsburgh's involved in it, just as you're involved in it, because you understand the relationship between what technology can do, old technology does, and what new technology can do. One of our first projects is something we call Smart Lock. You're a little familiar with it, but basically it's a virtual navigation system where a pilot in low visibility, zero visibility if he wanted to, is able to navigate based on a computer screen with very accurate measurements. Go ahead. You can hit several of these. It just gives you the pieces that make it fit together. The way it was originally designed was off of a satellite connection with some antenna networks to distribute it. Go ahead. We even had, we were very proud, so I get to show that off. But the thing is we needed a system to distribute this information. We didn't have that. Okay. We realized you don't have it. You can't build a network for applications. What are the other applications out there? We did that original project with Carnegie Mellon University. We did this one with students from Carnegie Mellon. And I won't go into a great deal of depth, but it's a communications architecture of everybody who's out on the river talking, who they're talking to, and where those go to. Go ahead. They came up with some simplified distributions of those messages, how we could do all that. But again, we didn't have the distribution, so we really just did a lot of research. So now we're at go ahead. Spent a lot of time talking with Coast Guard because they were to convince us that the automated information system would be the future of the waterways. And the AIS is like the Twitter of the social media. Very concise messages that you can do. And roughly it occupies about this much bandwidth compared to the bandwidth that's available in WiMAX. And WiMAX is the only technology we're looking at. But it just shows you types of things that we could be working with so much broader than what the technology vision of the Coast Guard was. And it was fine for what they needed. It accomplished that. I'm certainly not critical of it. So the PP intends to issue a request for proposal in the very near future to design, develop, maintain, manage a wireless broadband network at the 3 lots downtown Pittsburgh. And use that as a test bed for platforms, programs, and equipment to be evaluated over a 3-year period. And you folks may be very interested in participating in this. It consists of initiatives. One is to design, operate, maintain, manage, and eventually expand a scalable fixed and mobile broadband network at the 3 river locks in the Pittsburgh schools to be operated on a revenue-generating basis. And I think folks understand that. This is not going to work depending on government money. You know, it's going to be folks like you or people like this with this kind of mentality that will make it work. Go ahead. Initiative 2 is design, build, and operate revenue-generating interoperability test bed. There we want to develop data, voice, video testing capabilities, establish baseline conduct evaluations and market assessment. The roadmap is, we're not going to be able to do it alone. That's part of it. But to be real effective, we think we've got funding in hand to build it out in the Pennsylvania section. But going back is going to be the next step. We think it's going to be driven by investment, cash flow. There will be supplemental grants that will accelerate it from time to time, but it's going to be basically a revenue-based industry. Anticipated partners, you've talked about them, you've about them, and obviously the one we're going to be looking for is partnering port organizations like yourselves to see how we can work together. You can go quickly through here. The more it's spread out, the more effective it becomes. If it's become a national system, go ahead. It's probably about 200 hotspots that we'd like to get started to get a national system. Go ahead. We do it because we depend on making your system successful. This is what we need is technology. Open for business. How do we work together? As it is.
I don't have, there's a lot we can work together.
Okay. We'll arrange, some reciprocal meetings for you to come up. I'm sure my board's going to be very interested in hearing what the rest. Okay,
Thanks a lot, Mr. Chairman. The next, I have Pat Ford next. For a few minutes, you want to maybe talk a few minutes about the Development Corporation?
Yeah, just briefly, for those of you who are.
Pat,
So they can hear on the
Come up
phone.
here.
Good stuff up here, we appreciate it. I'm Pat Ford, the Executive Director of the Business Development Corporation of Northern Panhandle. For those of you who aren't familiar with our organization, we're the lead economic development agency for Brooke and Hancock counties in the Northern Panhandle. And our primary mission is to recruit new business and industry into Brooke and Hancock counties, as well as work with existing businesses to keep them here and help them expand in Brooke and Hancock counties. We get a lot of financial and technical support from the West Virginia Development Office, and Mr. Libing is here to talk about some of those services. One of our most recent projects that we can share with you that gives us direct access and interest in the waterways. We just purchased the former TSP pottery site up in Chester, about 10 acres that we're currently in the process of remediating and will ultimately be developing. So, thank you very much.
And I have Dave Wiley, the West Virginia Development Office.
Good evening, everybody. I have to bear with me. I'm a little tired. It's been a long day. I was on vacation last week and the road early on Monday morning, and here I am. Been up here for the last few days. So I have a PowerPoint presentation, so I just thought I would just speak a little bit about our office, our organization, what we do. Again, Dave Living, I'm the business retention expansion rep for the Panhandle. I cover about a 14-county service area based in Fairmont, West Virginia. I've got Basically, I cover all the Ohio River County, Tyler County, Scott County, and then, that Weston, Sparksburg, Fairmont, Morgantown service area. Pretty fortunate to have, a lot of growth going on. There's a lot of, expansion activity that I'm seeing, that's primarily our mission. What I do is try to work with existing companies. I partner with the lead development organizations in my area, people like Pat and others. We have we're set up through our state office, Charleston. We have a number of different divisions down there. Some of them, BJ is probably familiar with our group, our business industrial development group. We're kind of split into two areas. One is our folks like me that do retention expansion work. Then we have a marketing group, two people that are doing the attraction work, marketing. There's been a lot of activity here lately with in the petrochemical side. I'll talk a little bit about the ethane project that's been ongoing. Things like that could make a significant impact in a community like Weirton and here in the northern Panhandle if we're successful in luring somebody like that to the area. Number of sites being considered, and they have a great deal of transportation issues. Using the rail and the river are key components to siting this project. Friends in Pennsylvania, I think, are actively engaged in the project, as well as our friends, our neighbors over across the Ohio River as well. So that's going on. And working with the Port Authority, that I see you guys as being a way for us to kind of help deal with. How do we improve our infrastructure along our waterways and our rail, even the airport issues, I think are an area of interest in highway transportation. Everything moves by truck in and out. So the Port Authority is, as I see it, and I'll learn more about what you guys are involved in project-wise, but I see you playing that role, trying to connect these things together as people need to move goods in and out. The other of our agency, we have an international division. They're heavily involved in exporting as a strategy. I see that's a way for us to work with the group, try to encourage more export activity in the area. One of the things I do when I visit with businesses, as a matter of fact, I had the Secretary of Commerce up here today visiting. We visited at Homer Laughlin, and we visited at Ergon, the only refinery in the state of West Virginia. You may already know that. There's one in Pittsburgh, Kentucky, but that's on the other side of the border, close to it. But when I visit with companies, part of what I try to do is to understand the supply chain relationships that they have and what their needs might be there, and where we can make connections. I also try to understand their transportation issues that they're facing and see whether there might be some choke points or some competitive issues that need to be dealt with along those lines, and I see us working with your organization, BJ, to try to help do a better job of that. The international group also gets involved in marketing some. They had an announcement just on Monday down in the Kanawha Valley with a Japanese firm, Pareho, that located on an existing chemical site at DuPont's down in Bell. It's a big deal for us to be able to land that kind of a project. But we have a lot of activity going on the marketing side, and beyond that really helps somebody like DuPont, an existing company, because it brings in that customer relationship kind of thing where they can work together. It helps both companies there to be successful, which is what we're all about. We also have a community development division. They get more involved in infrastructure types of things. Typically water and sewer are probably big on their list, and for good reason, something that we need to do. We also have a small business division that focuses on working with small business growth and entrepreneurial types of development. I guess the big part of what I do is, as I said, we have a visitation program. So what I try to visit all the major manufacturers in my region, try to understand what they do, get face-to-face and build relationships. So I'm really in the relationship business. So I know who the plant manager is, or who the site manager might be, and whether there's expansion opportunities, growth opportunities, then I can state programs that, through our economic development agency, can help them have access to capital for financing, working with banks, also tax credit programs, or maybe just workforce development issues have, so we can deal with that. But that's pretty much a nutshell of what we do. Our work is never done. There's always opportunity to do more, and certainly we want to bring some growth to the area as best we can, with that sort of thing. So I see the port as a potential player for us to partner with and to work with as we identify issues and needs out there. Certainly I'll be talking to BJ and people like Jim Brown and the regional council, who we're already working pretty closely with up here in the past. So, any questions for us? Any comments or anything? All right. Thank you very much.
All right, now, the last but not least is, Bill Moon with Frontier.
Good evening, everyone. I want to thank the Weirton Area Port Authority for giving me the opportunity to come and speak to you a little bit tonight about Frontier. Go ahead, first slide, please. There's been a lot of confusion, and what is cleared up, but there still may be some about who Frontier is, how we came to be here. I've had I don't know how many people tell me, well, you're a part of Verizon, and no, we're really not. Frontier Communications has been around since 1935, and we provide internet, phone, and we also have an agreement with Dish TV so that we can provide TV service to our customers. We provide solutions to everybody from, telephone in the home all the way up through very large businesses. And our plum is, where we really concentrate is, we are the largest provider of communications to rural communities in the United States. And that West Virginia was such a big deal for us, such a plum, and one that we really wanted to be involved in. Last July 1st of 2010, we had 13 properties around the United States, and West Virginia was the largest. We're probably 98% of the telecommunication business in West Virginia, so we are currently the incumbent local exchange carrier. We employ somewhere between 14,800 and 14,900 employees throughout the United States. We service 4 million customers currently. We had a pretty good year last year, $5.7 billion in revenue. I think I mentioned we were operating in 27 states. And one thing we're very proud of is we are 100% U.S.-based company. One of our first action items when the acquisition happened is we pulled 250 jobs that Verizon had outsourced over to India back to the United States and back into West Virginia. Next slide, please. So this is the way we're currently out in the country. You can see by the color code there are 5 regions. Virginia, a part of the green region, is the southeast region. And we're headquartered in Charleston, West Virginia, for the southeast region. Corporate headquarters are in Connecticut, in Stamford, Connecticut. Go ahead, next slide, please. And look at the state, the way it breaks down, we are divided into 9 different local markets or regions, if you will. You can see that up the northern Panhandle, that's my market. As manager, I'm responsible for everything that happens in the market. Search, sales, you name it. Bob is there to cut through all the minutia whenever there's a problem, make sure it's handled, make sure that we provide services to our customers, and make sure that it's done and done well. And do that for a number of reasons. And you get that in just a second. Go ahead, please, ma'am. Went over, a fair amount of this. We have hired over 250 new management and union hires in the United States, or in West Virginia, since the acquisition. And we're very dedicated to hiring veterans. And one of the things that we did at the acquisition is we committed to spend $310 million in West Virginia to upgrade the network. And you'll see in a couple of minutes some of the work that we're doing on that. And we've dramatically expanded the amount of high-speed internet access in the state. And we're just getting rolling, folks. We got a lot of ground to cover, and we're continuing to build out. This is what I was alluding to just a second ago. All general managers in the state, you had to be from the area that you manage. So I was born and raised in Chester. I live in Wheeling. I'm familiar with the area, having been here, as you can see from the gray hair, a number of years. So, you have to be a part of the markets. They want people that are going to be very committed to their communities and live in and work in them and be very involved. So that's also a part of how the general manager structure works. Next slide, please. Okay. This is interesting. Since July 1st, we've turned up 305 new high-speed internet sites. And as you can see, the broadband access, we've added 85,645 new households and businesses across the state. That capability for them to get high-speed internet access to us. So when we first acquired property, West Virginia was somewhere near the bottom of the tier, maybe 47, 48, 49 as far as high-speed internet access is concerned. When we're done, our goal was to get us into the top 5. And so look at it, we were 62% available, now we're 75.6. And there's the figures there. We've gone from roughly 625,000 households up to 472. And we're continuing to build out and add new sites all the time. This past week, I would estimate I have seen, and now we're looking at roughly 10 sites that are up. So we're continually adding those sites and building out. One of the things that also go along with that $310 million that we have committed to spend, when we arrived here, we noticed that there was a lot of work that we needed to do to upgrade the network back up to the point that we think it needs to be in order to support more business. Because although internet access is not the only key, we truly believe that it's one of the keys supporting growth in the state. If you have 2 states that are equivalent in every other way except high-speed internet access, one state has more or better than the other, guess where business is going to go? It's so important, and we're building on spec. We know that if we build it, it's going to help more business come. Since the time of acquisition, what we have done is we completed 649 rehabilitation jobs, and that is an ongoing process. That will never end, but right now we are in a stage where we're just really pounding it out. I mean, we're going out, we're rehabbing pedestals, closures. Just in my territory alone, as of last December, we had hung over 3 miles of new cable to replace cable that was old or bad. So we're really pouring the money in. Fiber, we're laying fiber like crazy all over the state. So we're continuing to add and improve the network. Slide, please. To give you an idea, too, of what the money has been spent so far. In expenditures, you can see in the second half of 2010, which was all we had to work with, we spent $68 million. In the first half of this year alone, we spent $63 million plus $8 million in broadband expansion. Overall, so far, at the end of the first half, we've spent $131 million in the state. So a lot is being poured in, folks, to improve the network. Okay, go ahead. Let's skip that one. It's something that is really going to be a big deal for us. This is what we're terming the ROADM network. And what this is a network that we we are currently building out. This is all fiber. It will be done by the end of this year. What it is a series of rings around the United States. And capacity of this network is that compared to what people were used to in the past. And if you think of this, and I'll show it to you in a slide, if you think of it, a lot of businesses today work on a T1. It's 1.544 megabits. And bigger companies might use an OC192. When you get to the ROADM network, we're talking terabits. So this is a huge network as far as capacity. All these rings, what they do for us is, let's say somebody comes along and cuts the fiber. Well, if it's a ring and the technology works that it's self-healing, it will keep the flowing. So that prevents you from going down because there's a fiber cut. And I got to tell you right now, it's tough out there with cable and fiber, with all the gas drilling that's going on, all the pine that's being laid, and unfortunately cable theft. We're continually seeing chunks of cable stolen, cable cut. And while we do a pretty good job of fixing it, it takes time to go locate a fiber cut, for instance, and send a crew in to get it repaired. It can sometimes take as much as 5 hours to get it done. Replacing cable that's stolen, that can take even longer because you have to get a crew out to hang the cable, then you have to slice it all in. If it's a 300 pair cable, that can take 4 or 5 hours just doing slicing it. So this is going to help us tremendously, all of us in the state. This is going to be a great benefit for us. Next slide. So I'm asked this frequently, what does ROADM stand for? And what it means is it's a reconfigurable optical add-drop network. So it's ultra-high bandwidth. Things about it that's kind of neat is it's protocol. Run any protocol over essentially, and it's burstable. So if you have a high bandwidth need all of a sudden, this network can handle that and adjust that without slowing down and choking the network, which is also an excellent benefit. I heard statistics just the other day. Rough 75% of the bandwidth that's used in the country right now between the evening hours is for Netflix. Who would have thought of that 10 years ago? As the network expands, grows, the applications grow, we're getting more and more demand on the network, and we're going to need systems like this to be able to take care of it. This is the first in the United States to be installed at its kind. We believe when we're done at the end of the year, there'll be nothing like it in the country. How long we'll be able to hang on to that? Who knows? People jump in there and get on the bandwagon, I'm sure. Next one, please. So this is kind of a depiction of what I said just a few minutes ago. There is actually a dot right at the end of my finger, and that would represent the bandwidth of a T1. Smaller circle is an OC192, or 10 gig, and then the big ring, that's how big ROADM is, or 7 terabits. So you're talking about a huge increase in bandwidth. So think about that. There's a lot of choke points that you can have in the network, right? I'm going to talk through this because I didn't include a slide on this. When you get ROADM deployed, you're going to have these rings that are capable of this great big bandwidth. How do you get egress out of the state? You choke points if you don't have enough bandwidth going out. So what we're doing now is we're in the process of expanding that as well. With egress points in Martinsburg, Clarksburg, Charleston, and Bluefield, I believe. And through those egress points, we're going to Virginia, to Georgia, and Chicago. So we're increasing the bandwidth going out of the state. So again, to improve the efficiency of the network and prevent choke points and slow down. Next slide, please. let's go ahead and go through this one, just kind of lead through it real quick. What is a depiction that says, whatever your needs are, Rotary can handle it.
There was more, I'm sorry.
That's okay. The other thing about it, real quick too, go ahead anyway, but it's the expandability of this network is incredibly easy for us. It's not a case where we have to install all new equipment, we just plug cards in all day long and expand this network. Let's go ahead and skip through that real quick. So that's a brief, those are just back. That's a brief overview of who Frontier is, where we're headed, and we're proud to be a part of this movement up here in Weirton. I think this is going to offer some opportunities that is sorely needed in the northern Panhandle. And a lot of my folks are still out of work, so I hope this all works out real well for all of us. Thanks.
That's all for our, I don't have any other agenda items. Does anyone have any questions for me before we adjourn the meeting? Everybody understands everything, huh? Any questions on the phone? Okay, well,
No, we're all fine, thanks.
okay, thanks a lot, Nigel. Thanks, everyone. All right, do I have I guess we'll do a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Meeting adjourned. Thank all of you for coming, and we'll be here to talk for a couple of minutes for some questions.